do that, and I shared the specific shoes that I got to wear. And you know, unfortunately, we were given some sad news here recently that the young lady Charley Bauer, who made those shoes that I got to wear, recently passed away. And you know, oftentimes, especially this time of year, you know, things get moving so fast. When you're dealt information like that, it really forces you to take a second to pause and reflect. And it's forced me to, you know, just reflect on the honor it was to wear those, get to know her mother, and since her mother and father, unfortunately wasn't able to spend time with her because of the time of year and the season that it is, and just, you know, sickness. But you know, to hear even more of her story and the courage and the bravery that she showed, it's just, you know, it's just something that I've been thinking about, and wanted to take this opportunity to, again, you know, highlight, I think, certainly that event, what it meant, raise awareness for, you know, just children's cancer, how awful it is and how hard it is for families, and encourage, you know, people to continue to support and help in any way they can, because when you get to know someone personally, or a family personally, that goes through something like that, it's hard. You know, cancer is something that, you know, feels like almost everybody knows someone who, you know, was impacted by it, but that was, you know, some unfortunate news we got recently, and just wanted to, you know, take this opportunity to bring awareness back to that. And you know, our thoughts and prayers are with Charley's family, and you know, we're so thankful to be able to build a relationship with them, and to be able to reflect on just her courage and strength through, and joy, quite honestly, through, you know, the last few weeks. It's been really special. So wanted to kind of start with that, and yeah, we'll kind of take it from there.
Did you get a chance to, you said you got to know her mom and dad a little bit? What was it like starting to build that little bit of a relationship?
Yeah, had a conversation with her mom, you know, initially, and then I was able to, you know, through their family's from Northwest Ohio, so you guys know how I feel about Northwest Ohio. And after the Iowa game, on the court, someone came up to me who was a friend of the family, so I actually got to, through them, kind of send a video message to Charley. Never got a chance to meet her, but I met her mom, and then recently had a conversation, kind of since we got this news, had a conversation with the parents. I reached out to them, and even in that moment, just the strength and just courage that her family has shown, and the way they talk about her and the way she was, you know, these last few weeks, the joy she had while fighting this, you know, awful thing was, it just was, now it was really impactful for me. And you hate to think of it that way, but wow, what just the grace and that they had, that it can even impact someone like me, just having a conversation with them, I thought was really special. So unfortunately never got a chance to meet Charley in person, but I, you know, did get to send her that video. It sounds like, you know, according to her parents, that she really enjoyed that. So yeah.
On the basketball side.
Yeah, I know, sorry. Get to some basketball stuff, but yeah.
What have you seen as you've looked at this Northwestern team, and what they've been like without Brooks Barnheiser, which is obviously such a huge part of what they were?
Yeah, well, first off, they are extremely tough, gritty, physical, and you know, like, throw recent win losses out the window. I mean, you really look at their games, and it has been down to the wire, you know, really in multiple games, and they've a break here or there in the flow of those games, and it's, it'd be different. So I think what Coach Collins has done has been really impressive because, they've been dealt a tough blow with injuries. And certainly Barnheiser is really was playing as one of the best players in the league. And now, that being said, they still got some really good pieces, and specifically Barry and Martinelli, like they're playing at such a high level lately, and aggressiveness. So this is going to be a big time Big Ten game, and we've had a great day of prep so far. We can have another good day today to get ready to play our best tomorrow.
What has it been like moving on from the last game, which is obvious? You said you're going to kind of marinate on that for a day, and then you had to move on. But what has it been like trying to turn the page and make sure, like you said the other day, that doesn't lead into another tough loss? Yeah, well,
it was really important, for me to make sure we had a good practice. The next time we were on the court, we did that. Thought our guys' approach yesterday was great. We watched film from that game, and there were some things that we did maybe uncharacteristically, or at least more than we had been doing, some errors that impacted us. And so we owned that in film and addressed it in practice again. And again, our guys had a great energy. We had a really good practice yesterday. And today, it is about having a good practice today. And, we need to continue to prep well. So this group has done that consistently. We've prepped well. We've got to have another great day today. But I didn't feel any sense of hangover or, ripple effect in practice. Everybody was frustrated, upset, disappointed, all of those things. But once we got between the lines, we were moving forward, and our guys did a good job with that.
Just big picture, how do you ensure that this team's focused on the day-to-day, the game-to-game, when people start to discuss NCAA tournament and those things, and knowing that each game means that much more?
Yeah, well, I think we talk about, not every day, but we had a conversation about, hey, there's a reality to all of this, right? And I'm sure they see it and feel it. So I'm just a believer. You kind of address it one time, you talk through it, you create a platform for guys to speak up and share things, and then it's about the work, and it's about one day at a time. I don't think you can pretend stuff doesn't exist or hide from it, but you don't need to I don't need to remind our guys every day that every game we're playing is a big game. They know that. We talked about it. We talked about the challenges that come with that and managing that. And then we talked about how you manage it well as you focus on having a great day. And that's what we're doing. We had a great day yesterday. We need to have another great day today. And then we got to play really well. And, that's the most important thing. Because if you don't play well, you don't really have a chance. You got to play well. You got to set yourself up to play well. So I also think it's important for guys to know that the reality of our situation, it's positive. It is. And they need to know that too. So yeah, we lost a game that we didn't want to lose, and it hurt, and all of that. But in the scheme of things, it's very much positive what's in front of us. So we talked about the reality of where we're at, but we're not going to keep addressing that, every single day. Talk about it, we own it, we embrace it, and then we get to work.
Yeah. Kind of going off of that, I mean, you've talked multiple times about you have bigger aspirations for this team, for this program, than just making the NCAA tournament. But when you haven't been there in 3 years, I mean, how big of an achievement would it be to be able to secure that down the stretch of the season here?
I think it's when you're building something, right? There's a process to it, and I think we all want it now, certainly. But most importantly, the toughness and the togetherness that this team has displayed, I'm really proud of that, and that was an important part of this foundation. We still have some big time goals in front of us this season that are not, we're not void of achieving those yet. We can still do so. I think there's going to be a time and place to reflect after the season to say, hey, here's where we are as a program. We've clearly moved forward. We've taken a step forward. How big of a step? Well, we'll see how the season ends up. But I think we have taken a step forward, and that's a good thing. But we got a lot to play for right now, and my focus is on, you know, beating Northwestern, and then we got to get ready for the next one. Nice little fun trip out to LA. So that's the focus, but I think we have done some things to establish what this program is going to be like moving forward, a good foundation as part of year one. And, you know, we'll see at the end of the season, kind of evaluate that. That's the time for that. But the goals are the goals for this program. The standard's the standard. I've been vocal about what I think that is, and we're going to continue working every single day to get there.
You talked before the Michigan game about wanting this to be a rivalry like it is in football and other sports, building it back up. So when you lose that game, what did you feel? Did you feel like the response, outside of maybe just coming back to practicing, but like, did it feel like the guys got what this rivalry is as you continue now to move forward? Of, hey, when we lose that game, as you said, it should hurt, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Our whole program felt it. But, you know, it can't be something like that lingers, right? Like that game, there's a different feeling to that game. And I would argue it's probably like that. But maybe that's my own personal beliefs, but I just believe it's like that in everything when those two teams, you know, square up and play. So, yeah, it's just like it may feel a little different going in, it's going to feel a little different coming out of it as well. And I think our guys did, but it's important to move on. Right? You know, it's important to get ready for the next one because of the quick turnaround that we have and everything that we're playing for right now.
And is that maybe the difference with football where, you know, for so long that game was the end all be all, quite literally, it may end your season, whereas you guys have to move on, right? Because there is so much more still here. And I know that's obviously changing football now, but it does seem to be a little bit of a different with football versus the other sports and the way it's played.
Yeah, you know, my football experience is as a fan, right? So, and playing football video games when I grew up. So I'm not going to pretend to like fully understand what that game means. I know it means a great deal as a fan. I love going to it, but you know, I know for us in basketball, it's important, but in the scheme of a 30-some game season, right? Like, what's important about it most often is the rivalry aspect. A lot of times its impact in basketball on the outcome of the year is not as, you know, I don't know if that's really what you take from that game. I think it's more about the opportunity to kind of spar with them. That's why, you know, I've been an advocate for getting that game as a protected rivalry in our league, because you just, like, you look forward to that. So it's different for sure, but yeah, I think we're seeing across all the college landscape is changing. So
Okay.
Yeah, at the Michigan game at halftime, the captains, they all came and I guess got celebrated. I guess were the captains, like, did they talk to your guys at all? Like those guys like Aaron Kraft and CJ Walker, like they've been into the tournament, they've played in big games. Like, have they had discussions with you guys in like last, I guess, week or so about what playing meaningful games like means this time of the year?
yeah, so we actually had a dinner that any former captain at Ohio State was invited to the night before the game, and it was one of my absolute favorite nights of the year. You guys know how much I care about our former players and how important I think they are to our program and the influence they can have in our locker room. I'm a believer in that. That's why, I mean, I want them around as much as they possibly. I mean, I know a lot of these guys have families and lives and they're playing professionally or whatever, but I just, if it were up to me, I'd have a former player at every practice. I'd have a former player on every road trip. I'd have like it just, but it was at that dinner, guys did share, you know, shared their experiences, shared the things that they loved about their teams during their era, and talked about, you know, the importance of the next game. But to be honest with you, the best part about it was when we have former players share, you know, how this program has impacted them and how connected they are and what it means to them to be connected for their life beyond basketball, and for our guys to see, like, when we talk about family, like, it's a real thing, and here's a living example and what Ohio State and how special this place is and the power of this place and the people you meet. It's in really a league of its own when it comes to that. And so when our guys get to see, because I talk about them a lot, but when they get to see and feel and hear real examples, I thought that was the best part of the night. You have guys who they're doing some unbelievable things in their life after basketball, and for them to share how Ohio State impacted them to do that and what this program means to them, it was awesome for our guys to hear. So it's been one of my favorite nights of the year.
Were there any guys that like stood out with?
Yeah, they all were great. I mean, they were all great. I could just send you the attendance list. You could run with that because they were all really good.
You got two young guys who you're really depending on, with Royal being, you don't think of him maybe as a sophomore now, he's played so much basketball, and then Mobley's a freshman, and they both in recent weeks have really kind of stepped it up. How have you seen both those guys kind of grow and embrace those roles? I know Royal had the wrist and was kind of hampered, but then he comes back in this last game and seems like he's full go again. And Mobley, I think 3 20-point games in his last 5 games. So just what are you seeing out of those two guys in particular as you've had to lean on them a little bit more heavily, I suppose?
Yeah, well, I think first it's tremendous growth and development, and both those guys work hard and really care about Ohio State. So it's not surprising to me that they've grown like they have this season, because they care, they're great competitors, they want to be great players, and they want to win. And so I think that's where it starts. I have a great deal of confidence in both of those guys. And, sometimes development comes in many forms, and sometimes it's in the action for a lot of minutes, and you got to grow and develop through that. And that's a great tool to help speed up growth. And I think we're seeing that. I think what we're seeing with those guys, both of those guys, as their consistency has grown throughout the season, we're seeing a comfortability, a confidence that they're playing with, an aggressiveness that they're playing with, and it's really important for us. We have now, really, I think we've had 4 consistent, threats offensively that can have a big night on any given game, and that's important. It makes you tough to guard, and it gives you dynamic offensively that a lot of teams don't have. So, we wouldn't be able to do that without those two emerging like they have. So I've just been really proud of Steve, and they need to keep going though. I can tell you that we need them to keep going.
Yeah, revisiting the end of the game situations, the one consistent as I look back at all the different one possession games was Bruce kind of had the ball in his hands, and it's worked out in some cases, maybe not perfectly in some others. Is Parrish a guy with his ability to get to the basket, draw fouls, finish at the rim, etc.? Is he a guy in that situation where you can put the ball in his hands as well? Or, I don't know, not to say that every time you're in that spot it's going to go to Bruce, but you seem very comfortable with having it in his hands to try and create something. And as I said, sometimes it's worked and sometimes it's been a little more difficult for him.
Yeah, well, I think there's really any 4 of those guys. If you go to the possession before the very last possession, right, and the last possession got a little.
Was Mobley fouled?
The fact that Mobley ended up on the ground, that was not part of the play design. We'll put it that way. But the possession before, we put the ball in John's hands, right? And then we ran the design of the play was ultimately to get to Micah for the shot. So we ran that play, and those guys executed it great. So we did go to those 2 guys, right, like the very possession before, and so we've spread around a little bit, but I think we got to continue, to put guys in positions that they're comfortable and confident, and it's been times we've run some screening actions for John to get a 3, and I kind of evaluate end of game, right, is really there's a few possessions that go into it. Yeah, and so I'm confident really in any of those guys, and Devin, John, Michael, or Bruce. And the biggest thing we got to do in that moment is you want to have great spacing, right? You want to create an advantage, and for your guys. And I think the thing that I've learned this year is, you got to put guys in a position they're comfortable, right? Like, you can have the greatest play in the back of your mind and draw it up, but if you haven't worked on it and practiced it, right, it's going to be hard to execute. Expect guys to execute when the pressure and everything that goes with the end of the game is there. So that's part of why we spend so much time on end of games. I want guys out there being able to do things that they're comfortable in. But yeah, that last play, the first option was to create an advantage for us with Junie coming off the screen. And if he had space, I would have been very, very comfortable with him catching and letting it fly. He couldn't do that from the ground, but and then I trust Bruce's decision making. I think that's really trust his decision making, and he made a great decision to get the ball in the paint in a matchup we really liked. And he'll make that next time. There's no doubt in my mind. It was a great look. So. But yeah, I think if you go back to the last 2 or 3 possessions of each game, these close games, we have mixed it up with different guys. I think Devin's a guy we got to look to get involved. At the end of the game, he's got an ability to get fouled, but the biggest thing is you got to take care of the ball in that moment. So that goes into it. But our guys have executed down the stretch. We've improved in that area, and that's important because probably the way this year's gone, we're going to be in that situation again, and probably in that situation a few more times. So we'll continue to be ready for it.
Sean, the last 2 games has been able to be effective for you in a couple of ways in avoiding foul trouble. He played at career high minutes the other night, didn't have a foul, had 10 rebounds. I don't know that I necessarily notice his production as much as maybe I should when he has a line like that. What is he giving you right now when he's able to be on the court for 25, 26 minutes and not be in foul trouble?
Yeah, well, I think, fouling, our front court fouling has been an issue for us, right? It's been an issue all season long. It's good to see, Sean's growing in that area. And Sean's rebounding in the second half was really good. Now, I said this publicly, part of our issue with our rebounding that game was not their big guy against our big guy. Part of our that I'm not trying to minimize their size, but a big issue with our rebounding is we put ourselves in rotation at times where we didn't need to, where we just needed to communicate better and would have kept us out of rotation. So then we had a bigger guy boxing out bigger, or we weren't giving guys free run to the rim because we were in rotation. So that was a big thing. We watched film on that and talked through that and continued to practice ways to do that. But I think when Sean was in there, did a better job in the second half playing with physicality and rebounding in crowds and things. He's got to continue, as he's has a better feel not fouling. He can't not protect the rim for us though. Thought there was a couple instances in the first half where he didn't do as good a job protecting the rim. And, so he's got to continue to be able to cover up for us when we make a mistake, but also stay out of foul trouble. Some of his fouls in the past have been because we've put him in a tough spot. But he's growing. I think we're seeing that, and it's great to see because it can really help us. Because when he's on the court, it's been good for us.